You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for hopping on here, whether it be on YouTube or on my podcast. So again, this is a podcast called Actually Yes. Basically a podcast that helps you and I grow as a person in a holistic way to change your mindset from, I'm not sure, maybe, to actually yes. So before we get into our topic today, which is super awesome and a good topic to talk about, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this so we can keep this podcast going. And on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate that. And also leave a 5-star review. All right. So today we have a Brooke on my podcast today. And I just kind of want to talk to her about kind of like a cleaner, greener living lifestyle. So I actually found Brooke on Instagram and I just fell in love with her page and whatnot. And I really kind of got drawn into like how she started using cleaner products, talking about like different things that you normally may not hear in your everyday life about the products you use in your everyday life, which is actually kind of scary. So we'll actually talk further into that. So kind of going into there, Brooke, can you tell us what got you into wanting to like live a like cleaner, greener lifestyle?
Yeah, so well, thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited to be here. But I guess what got me started in this kind of lifestyle was my husband and I started looking into like our fertility journey, like wanting to conceive and start a family. So the overthinker and the paranoid like researcher that I am, I started looking up straight away everything like what do I need to do to like be the healthiest in my body to get pregnant, and what do I need to avoid, and blah blah blah. And I came across this page that was telling you about like toxins and chemicals and like toxic products and how bad that can be for your body like during pregnancy and increasing your risk of like miscarriage and that kind of stuff. And I actually lost a brother. My mum lost a child in between, well, a couple of years younger than me. So I guess I was just really like paranoid for myself of possibly having those kind of genetics. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to do everything I could do to ensure that when I do fall pregnant, it's like going to be the healthiest pregnancy possible. So yeah, I it's almost like once you see something, you can't unsee it. So once you know things that are toxic, you can't then just continue using it like you normally would, because you're like paranoid about what you're doing to your body. And yeah, so I guess that's where it all started for me. And then one thing snowballed into another, and next minute I was obsessed.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. Like even just going with my self-help journey in general, again, it's like you can't unsee that stuff and you're like, oh wow, like it's like maybe I was living in like a bubble or something, or like, why isn't this not talked about? Like, and it's like important stuff, like you said, like toxic things, like you're using in your everyday life. Like, you know, you just assume like, oh, it's like a popular thing. It's on commercials. Like we should be using this. It's like in our stores. Right. And then it's like, but if you look further into it, you know, which is so scary.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of going into that too, then can you kind of describe like what is a low tox or low toxic like living products and things like that? Like,
so essentially a toxin is I won't get too technical because I'll probably stuff it up anyway, but basically a chemical that our body doesn't what's that word, metabolize. So it ends up storing in your body and causing potential damage. So things like chemicals and mostly chemicals. So a lot in cleaning products, in fragrances, so like perfumes, candles, diffusers, that kind of stuff. In skincare, body care, like baby stuff, in plastics, basically everywhere, which is the really scary thing. And once you do get exposed to this life, it's like that overwhelm of like, oh my God, everything in my house and in my life and that I put in or on my body is like toxic. And it becomes this like overwhelm of how do I get rid of all this stuff, or like, what do I do?
right.
So basically low tox lifestyle is trying to do your best to reduce your exposure to these toxins. Like in today's day and age, it's never going to be possible to completely get rid of them. I think that's how the term low tox came about. That's from an author of a great book called The Low Tox Life, Alex Stewart, I'm pretty sure. She made that up. So just trying to be as low in your toxin exposure as possible rather than like completely none, because you can't help, you know, when you go out to the shops, if you need to wash your hands or you go to someone else's house or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So not trying to be perfect and completely get rid of them, but just doing the best you can in your own environment to reduce your exposure.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, it can be hard. It's like you also don't want to be like living in that fear as well, like, oh my gosh, I can't have this or like that. And, you know,
Exactly.
obviously reduce as much as you can, or maybe, you know, like have products on hand where it's like you can just store it in your bag, smaller things, and use it when you're out and about. But again, just being aware of like what is out there, what are you using? Because like you said, it's like your skin is your largest organ, you know? And like you said, if you're putting all these products or like you're mopping the floor and you're walking across, or your child's crawling across, or even your pets, you know, like that can be all damaging to all three of you guys or whoever, you know, is in your home. So that is very scary. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something that I've heard that really freaked me out when I first heard it is that the air inside your home actually tends to be more polluted than the air outside. Like you think about pollution, like how bad it is these days from everything like cars and factories and whatever. And to think that your home, in the air inside your home, is more polluted than that from all the toxins and sprays and cleaning products and everything that we're using in our homes. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And to an extent, I can believe that too. Cause like, again, it's like, this is going to sound really weird, but one day, okay, like the power went out and I had like a flashlight and it was like tilted to the side because TMI, but I was in the bathroom. And I just remember like on the counter, there was like a thin layer of like, just like skin cells.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so gross. Like it's me and my husband and probably dog skin and all that, but it was just so disgusting still. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought I'd been like cleaning really well. And then like, I haven't been, I guess. And, you know, just kind of like seeing that, I know that sounds really weird, but like, that's kind of the stuff that's like in your air. And then, like you said, like if you're spraying on like cologne or perfume or things like that, you know, that's like adding to it. And then pet dander to add that. And that can also like, you know, be factors of people, why they have like maybe breathing problems or like asthma or things like that. It's like, sometimes you may not realize that like what you're doing or using throughout your life, like you're affecting yourself without knowing that, you know? So just having you on board, you know, just kind of talk about your own experience. I feel like it's just like a nice way to kind of like open up, but also refresh, like, okay, like how can I take charge of, you know, like things in my own life too. So yeah.
Well, one great tip that I will share before we get any more into it, in terms of the home pollution, a great way to help that is to add plants. I don't know, I'm sure you would know this, but plants actually help purify the air, like real plants, obviously. So if you have been using like toxic chemicals, or this is sort of something new to you, that can help to speed up the process, and obviously opening doors and windows as often as you can to like air it out. But yeah, plants is a really good one.
Nice. That is good to know. Now, do you know, is there any like specific type of plants if people are like, okay, you know, is it flowers that I need? Is it a type of greenery that I need? Or is it really just like any kind?
No, there is a handful that I know definitely are. There's probably a lot more, but I can't remember them all. I know that devil's ivy is really good. I have a devil's ivy in every single one of my bathrooms because I feel like that's where there's a lot of, like you said, skin cells, and like it's where you're like showering and all that kind of stuff. Devil's ivy, snake plants are really good for that. Aloe vera plants, fiddles, and there's one more that I know. Oh, peace lily. Peace lily are really good, but some plants are like toxic to pets. So if you have cats, dogs, or even to kids, maybe like check that out. I'm not 100% sure what's what, but be aware of that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, that's good to know. I need to add, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have that many plants in my house. But I'll definitely get on top of that and see hopefully ones that don't die very easily.
Yeah.
Low maintenance ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of plants, that kind of leads into the next question I was going to talk about anyway. So, can you kind of talk on like what greenwashing is? I feel like this is kind of like a nice topic to talk about because again, you never know with how advertising is.
This one is really hard. Like I still find this really hard to navigate. And I know definitely in the beginning of my journey, this is something I fell for really hard. So basically greenwashing, oh, greenwashing is when companies will label things as green or eco or natural or whatever wording they want to use that aren't necessarily what they say they are, or they're a company that makes out like they're very sustainable, but then they're not. So, example of this that I found really helpful to think about is like if you're looking at a brand that's advertising something as natural or they're sustainable or this or that, what other products do they make? Like, just think about it. Like, for example, if you're looking at a company that makes water bottles, I don't know, and they're saying like, oh, this is a recyclable eco bottle or whatever, but they also make like hundreds and hundreds of plastic throwaway bottles, and the brand probably doesn't have very good values or ethics, I suppose. But just knowing it's hard to give advice on this because it's hard to navigate. But I find this a lot with cleaning products and like washing, like laundry products and that kind of thing. Because they'll say eco or green or eco-friendly or natural or whatnot, but then they still have all the artificial fragrances in them, which are like one of the worst things you can expose yourself to. Or they still have, like toxic chemicals that you shouldn't be consuming. They may be better than the other options, but they're still not as natural as they appear to be. And people fall for it and sort of be like, oh, I'm living this low tox life, like I'll buy this natural product, and they're spending an extra, $5-10 on it. And it's not even, you're still consuming the same things. So I guess one tip that I found really helpful is if it doesn't have an ingredients list on it, then you're probably best to stay away from it in the first place. Like, I don't know what the regulations are for you guys over there in the US, but here on skin products, cleaning products, laundry products, like they don't have to legally list their ingredients. So if I've found personally that if a company is not greenwashing and they're actually being true with what they're saying, then they will list their ingredients because they have nothing to hide. So if they're not listing their ingredients, it's kind of like, well, what are you putting in it and why don't you want us to know what's in it? Right. So if it doesn't have an ingredients list, then put it back. And yeah, just watching out for those artificial fragrances. If they do have it, even natural fragrance is still not ideal because it's not really natural. Does that answer the question to what greenwashing is? I feel like I went off on it. That.
No, you're totally good. Yeah. So that helps kind of talk about that too. Because again, it's kind of just like, well, here, like in America, at least like you said, they might put those words on there where it attracts people. Like they're like, just the verbiage or the wording of it, you're like, oh, eco-friendly, like, and you may not look at the back because you trust or you think like, hey, I would think if somebody had that as their thing, then it's probably a reliable resource. But you're saying like not necessarily. Like again, look at for us. So like we have ingredients list, I want to say on like everything. However, it might just be vague. So it won't necessarily like name everything. It might just say, I don't know how it is in Australia, how it is. If it's like, so it might just be like fragrances. And it won't tell you what the fragrance is. But some people are like, if it just says fragrance and it's not listing out what those fragrances are, it's probably not good. Or a mixture of things that could be potentially toxic. So in Australia, are there things you're saying like a product literally won't have like listing of any type of ingredient? It'll just be like,
yeah, some of them don't have anything at all. Some of them will list like their main active ingredient, which if you can pronounce that, like hats off to you, because I can never even work out what those words mean. So, but yeah, they legally they don't have to. They don't have to tell you what's in it. So if they do have an ingredients list, like I mean, I'm talking the major companies that are quite toxic, they will list like a handful of things, or just the active ingredients. But the companies that are actually doing the right thing will list all the ingredients because, like I said, they have nothing to hide and they're like proud and showing off the fact that they only use natural ingredients.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, which again can be kind of a scary thing. So,
Mm.
yeah. So I saw one of your reels and I did enjoy that because again, just looking at your page, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it may not be as overwhelming. So I appreciate the content that you put out there because me myself, over here we have a couple like essential oils that are natural ones. And so I've had our version, I don't know what your version is again, but ours is doTERRA or Young Living here. And so looking at your stuff, I'm like, oh, I want to do all this. Like I have like baking soda, like a huge amount of that, vinegar, using my lemon or whatever the case may be when I'm feeling that day. So I'm just like, oh, like cleaning can be fun, which is really weird to say. I mean, I don't like it like every day or anything, but I'm just like, oh, let's like spruce up this couch and make it kind of smell good and get the odors out. So again, I appreciate you for doing that. So kind of going into that too, what are for people out there that like, you guys just even talking about what you're talking about, I am overwhelmed with where to even start. It's scary things you're talking about. So what are 5 things, ways that people can kind of switch to that more natural, greener kind of living lifestyle?
Yeah. So I totally felt that as well when I first started, like the overwhelm, like, oh my God, like what I said before, like I have to go and throw everything in my house out, like everything's toxic, and not even knowing what to replace it with. So I guess I've got 5 actual replacements, but I have a few tips as well, if that's okay, just
Yeah,
because
go for it.
the things that I found really helpful in the beginning was like, firstly, knowing that you don't have to do everything all at once. Like you don't have to switch every single product in your home in one go. I feel like that's an easy one to think of, like to think you have to do because you learn all these products are toxic and you're like, I don't ever want to use them again. Like I want to just get rid of it all now. But even just making a few switches at a time, you'll be reducing your exposure. So just focus on one thing at a time. And once that's not so scary anymore, then you can step into the next thing. Some people are fine with that and literally go and throw everything out and replace it all, whereas other people's, it can take years to gradually work through everything. So everyone's journey is different and each is totally fine. So don't put extra pressure on yourself, just one thing at a time. So like you said, vinegar and bicarb soda are going to be your best friends. And essential oils, they're not necessary, like they're not like you don't have to use them, but they do make things feel nice and fresh and have that nice luxury feel, like smells. Like I think we associate a lot of all the products we use, right? They all have smells with them. So the smell is what we associate with being clean rather than the actual cleanliness of it. So I feel like using the essential oils in your products gives it that clean feel. So they are a nice addition, but they're not necessary, like they're not needed. But a few easy swaps that you can make fairly cost effective and not too much effort would be swapping fabric softener for vinegar. So that's a super easy one. I'm sure most people already have vinegar in their pantry, so you're not spending any more money. In fact, you'll actually save yourself a lot of money. I don't. You guys use fabric softener there? Use those ball
Oh,
things?
yeah. So
What?
here we actually have like fabric softeners that are sheets. So a lot of
Right.
it has sheets to that, but some people do, not very often, again, unless I haven't talked to that community yet, but there's a few people who use those balls, like wool balls. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, that's for the dryer. I've seen, I don't know, I used to follow all these cleaning pages before being low tox, and in the US they seem to all have these like little pellets where you like scoop them into the wash. They're like a
We
scent,
have,
scent
we
booster
have
or
so
something.
many, we have so many different kinds. So yeah, there's
Right.
fabric softeners where there's like a liquid you can actually pour it into, which is like a fabric softener. Or like you said, like the little pellet things where it's like, you kind of shake and sprinkle. It almost looks like maybe like a bigger chunks of salt or something you can put in there.
Yeah.
Or again, we have dryer sheets.
Any of them, anything that's gonna like scent your clothes while you wash it, any kind of fabric softener, don't use that. It's really bad. So yeah, swap it for vinegar. I promise you your clothes will not come out smelling like vinegar. It ends up with just a neutral smell, because vinegar neutralizes odors, and it also does a really good job at like separating the fibers in your clothes and towels and stuff like that, so that lint and like fluff and stuff doesn't stick to them as much. So it's also really good for that. Gets rid of any like washing powder residue. So sometimes, if like comes out with like white marks, it's really good at getting rid of that. If you want to smell, you can put a couple of drops of essential oils into your vinegar for a bit more of a fresh scent. But even if you don't do that, it won't come out smelling like vinegar. I know a lot of people are scared of that at first. Like, I hate the smell of vinegar. I don't want my clothes to smell like that, but I promise you it won't. And then touching on the dryer sheets that you guys use, well, we have them here too, but I feel like they're not maybe as popular, is wool dryer balls. So you can pop a couple of drops of essential oil onto the balls if you want a fresh smell, but otherwise having them in the dryer while you use it helps to dry it faster as well and get rid of any more of that fluff. So that's like a triple benefit thing.
Right.
Then switching from plastic containers, so like plastic Tupperware containers for your food, to glass is a really good one, because there's a lot of chemicals in plastic that then can leach into your food, especially when it's heated up. This can be quite an expensive one, but glass containers do last a lot longer than plastic ones. So it's kind of like one of those investments that you spend a little bit more on, but you'll get a lot more out of it. If this isn't something that's doable right away, then I would just try and avoid as best as you can, like actually heating up your food in the container, or putting it in the dishwasher, because that's when the plastic can kind of break down and leach the chemicals into your food. So if you do need to use them, or you can't afford to replace them yet, use them only to store things in the fridge or in the freezer, and don't like transfer it to a bowl if you're going to heat it up, rather than sticking them in the microwave. Another great tip is cleaning products. So this one I feel like is one of the most overwhelming ones, because we're like marketed to believe that we need so many different products for each different thing. Like, I don't know what it's like for you guys over there, but for here, it's like in the shops, you have like a kitchen antibacterial spray, a bathroom spray, a multi-purpose spray, a glass spray, a fridge spray, like a bin cleaner, like that. Literally every area of your house needs a different spray. And then you've got like stainless steel cleaning and like polishing stuff, and something different for your oven, and like 20 different cleaners, which you feel like, oh, I have to try and find recipes to replace all these things. Often you don't. You can pretty much replace it with one, maybe two max products. And it's super easy to make. It's just vinegar based. So if you're interested in making it yourself, it's like 2 tablespoons of vinegar, white vinegar. And you can add a few drops of essential oil if you want, either for like antibacterial purposes or just for a nice scent. And then top it with filtered water. If you don't have a water filter, you can use like cooled kettle water, like boil it and then let it cool down. That kills like the bacteria and stuff. Yeah, so that's a super easy. You can even keep one of your old bottles and make it in that if you want it. So it doesn't cost you any money. And you can pretty much use that for your whole house. Like, that's the mixture I make. I use it in my kitchen, in my bathroom, like on all my wood furniture, on the mirrors, on like stainless steel, like literally everywhere. I pretty much have one spray cleaner and that's it. So I think that takes a lot of the overwhelm out when you're looking at like 20 cleaning products that you think you have to replace, but you can just replace it with one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I would say, because everyone loves at home to smell beautiful, right? Like, this was probably my biggest one that I resisted for so long when like making these changes was candles and like reed diffusers, because I had, no joke, a diffuser and like a candle or two in every single room of the house, because I just always wanted it to smell nice, especially if people came over. I wanted it to feel like homey and like fresh and clean all the time. But often most of them are made with artificial fragrances, and then the wax as well can have toxins, and then the wick can also have toxins. So it's kind of like a triple whammy, and it's something that's really hard to let go of. Like I said, it took me so long to be like, okay, fine, I will throw out my diffusers. But using essential oils instead is a really good way to still have like nice smelling home. You can use diffusers like oil diffusers. You can make room sprays out of essential oils. You can buy natural ones. Well, you can buy natural ones here. I assume you can buy natural ones there. But yeah, like it doesn't need to be, you can even make your own essential oil reed diffusers, but I don't personally find them strong enough to like get enough of the smell. But maybe that's just because I'm used to like strong toxic ones.
Right.
But I always still have people come into my home and be like, oh, it smells so good in here. So not feeling like you have to give up all your favorite things just to not live a toxic lifestyle.
Yeah.
Was that 5? I think that was 5.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't counting. It was all good stuff because like I really wanted to talk in on a lot of that, but I was like, I don't want to disrupt her flow. Like she's doing so good with like just talking about everything.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Don't be sorry. I was just like, okay, mental note. But no, that is so true too. Cause like I honestly am a candle girl too as well. Now I've kind of more gone to, like you said, essential oils. Quick thing on that too, like you were talking about before, just because essential oils, certain ones say natural or 100% or whatever the case may be, really look into that too. Cause not all essential oils are created equally, I found out.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I've seen some essential oils that I've gotten before on the back. It literally will say like something about like precaution can be cancerous or reproductive harm. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like, I'm happy that they said that so I could kind of be aware of that. But I was like, kind of just that opened my eyes too as well. Like, oh my gosh, like just because it's an essential oil does not mean it's a very good one, you know? So again, do your research on that, everybody too, as well. But it's funny because like, again, I love that, you know, like homey, smell good, like feeling cleanness and everything. And I would have so many candles, ask for it for Christmas or whatever, and be so happy and have it all over the place too.
Yeah.
Until my coworker had told me one day, she was like, you know, that can be toxic to you, right? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, no, it can't be. You know, in my head, I'm like, no, it can't be. They're selling it, right? It's like all over the place. There's candle shops. And she's like, yeah, but you're inhaling that. And like you said, like the wick itself, whatever it's made of, you know, those can be alarming and damaging too. And I remember that day I was like, well, I have so many candles. Like, what do I do with it? It's like, you kind of still want to light it because you're like, it just smells so good. But then you're like, what am I inhaling though? You know? So like you said, I didn't fully throw everything out. I just kind of sat with it or maybe didn't use it as much. But it just kind of opened my eyes in that kind of a sense that I was like, I need to do more research or get ones that are like soy or all natural, or again, looking more into that kind of stuff. So I can definitely attest to that too. And it's actually interesting. I did hear that there was this book that I read and they were talking about one of in here, probably where you're at too. I don't remember the name and I probably wouldn't name it anyway, but they're talking about how they did this like study of like why their stuff wasn't selling like products wise. And they had did this trial thing or whatever that they went to people's houses and what, like you said, draw them in or got people buying more was the fragrance or their smell of it. Again, it's that cleanliness, not necessarily because you could be using like these amazing products that literally do kill like everything and whatnot. But if it doesn't have that smell, then your brain is triggered to think like it's not clean. Like this is not
Absolutely.
clean. Yeah, which is so crazy. I remember I was like, what? And then so they said they put like a scent to it and people were like, this is amazing. Like this smells so good. And then I guess they're like, sales skyrocketed from there because people associated that smell to like, okay, this is clean, you know? So I think
and I actually noticed that in like washing, when I first switched to my natural washing powder that I actually make myself, I wasn't putting essential oils in at first just because I don't know, I wasn't bothered, to be honest. But the first few washes I did, I was like, oh, these clothes aren't clean. But then it was because I realized I was so used to the like fabric softener and the heavy smells. Like while you're hanging it out on the line, like you get that smell, and that's what you associate with clean. Because then I was looking at them, like smelling them, like they actually have no smell and they're clean. They're
Right.
just, yeah, not like heavily scented. So it was like a breaking that barrier in your mind.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the toughest things because my dad a long time ago too, he was like doing all these like cleaner products. And I remember he was like, try this. I don't know if you call it like laundry detergent or laundry soap where you're at, but we have that. And so he was like, try this out. And I remember putting it, and like you said, it didn't really have a smell. And then on top of that, what I realized years later, so it didn't like bubble up either, like that soapy like ness. And I remember I was like, my dad's like, how do you like it? How is it? And I'm like, it's cool. Like, like I'm just like confused because again, there's no scent. It's not bubbling. So I'm thinking like I had to pour like the whole thing in there because I'm like just so used to that, like you're used to seeing those bubbles. And then I remember reading back to that one book that I was reading that again, it's kind of going back to that sales thing that like, again, where our brain is triggered to see, okay, there's soap, there's bubbles, it's cleaning, it's doing the job. And if you don't see that, then you're more apt to think like it's not cleaning at all. So I think, again, like you said, it's just that brain shift of like, okay, it's doing its job. Like it's just not having all these bells and whistles or whatever you want to call the kind of thing. Because it can be cleansing too. So little tangent
Just
on
what
that.
we're used to, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like a whole mind shift. But speaking on that too, so again, just kind of watching you and your lifestyle and everything, and it being low toxin, and again, being not so overwhelming too. Because again, when you think greener, cleaner living, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay a bajillion bucks, like it has to be expensive and all that kind of stuff. Because again, that's just what you think. So kind of just seeing you do yours, where it's like literally, vinegar, like you said, baking soda, things like that. You're like, is that really it? Like there has to be more, right? Because we're just so used to like you said, having a bathroom cleaner, floor cleaner, air freshener, like all these kind of things. And it's kind of just kind of a cool, interesting way to, because I've even done my experiments, okay, my little experiments that, I'm like, okay, so let's clean the oven. Cause I'm not gonna lie, I haven't cleaned my oven in like forever and it's kind of gross. So I was like, I remember I looked up a recipe and it was just like baking soda and water and doing like a paste and kind of keeping it wet and cleaning it. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, this is looking nice. And then just using all those in different areas too. Cause yeah, I guess I never realized you could use like literally maybe like 4 different ingredients. And like you said, using it throughout your whole house, which I'm like, it's really that simple.
I think so many people too think, oh, that's too obvious. Like that's too basic. It won't work. Like, oh, you look at your oven and it's like black and like burnt and like so filthy, right? Like I'm sure we all have dirty ovens, whatever. And you think baking soda, like that's not going to be strong enough. That's not going to work. But in fact, it generally works better than, like the toxic ones that you're like choking while you use it because it smells so bad. I actually had this stain, just reminded me, on my bench top. Like I think it must have been like a rusty water stain or something from like my dish dryer. And I had tried everything to get it off. Like this was when I was still using chemicals. Like I had tried like all the toxic chemicals, right? And I couldn't get it off. So I just accepted that it was going to be a stain, like an ugly stain on my nice bench, forever. And then one day I had a little bit of my little bicarb cleaning paste left over after I'd done some cleaning. And I thought, I'm just going to give this a go. And I just put it on there and I just let it sit on there for like 10 minutes. And then when I wiped it off, it was gone. Like that was the only thing out of all the chemicals that I had used previously that actually got it off.
Yeah, I know, it's like mind blowing, right? You're just like, what? Like you said, I've been doing my research, trying all these different products. They're not working. And I'm just literally going back to the simpleness. And it's like done the job,
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that's how, like, I'm still experimenting with my place. So I don't know if you guys over there have like hard water, or have you heard of hard water or anything like that, where it's like built up
This
of
is always
mineral.
Used me. Yeah, I've definitely heard of it, but if I'm being honest, I don't really know what it means.
So here in America, we have like some hard water, which like leaves us like rusty, kind of gross. It's just built up of minerals and all that kind of stuff. And like we have like water softeners that kind of try to help with that. But sometimes it just still happens. So anyways, I kind of have like this buildup where it just looks like my place is gross, but I'm like, it's my water, I swear. But anyways, it's like hard to like get off and whatnot. So I'm like, that's like one of my experience I'm going to do is start using like the baking soda, finding like my own things of how to like clean my showers with that and seeing if that helps. Cause I'm just like,
Mm.
that's just so gross to look at. But like you said, just cleaning out my oven and seeing that how much of big of a difference it was. Again, just being so simple. I'm like, what else can I clean in my house that.
I would definitely try the baking soda paste for that. I clean my shower with most of the time like a baking soda paste, and it gets off all those like yucky watermarks. So give
Yeah.
it a go for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to be doing that. Be making some videos soon. Like, check this out. And you'll be like,
Even
wow.
cleaning like marks off the walls. Like, do you guys have gumption over there or Jif? I don't know if you guys have that.
What was it again?
Gumption or Git or Jif.
Is that like a cleaning product or?
Yeah, so I don't know. I used to be obsessed with it. It's like in a little pot, and it's like a white, it's thicker than a paste. You kind of scoop it out, like you scoop your
Okay.
cloth in it. And we would use that on like marks, like scuffs on the walls or like stains, like really tough stains. And that's what we would use. So the bicarb paste mixture is a really good replacement for that.
Yeah. I mean, we might have that too. I'm not sure. But yeah, I realize, yeah, the baking soda or bicarb is definitely, yeah, a great one to use because I don't know. It's just amazing to use. I don't even like, I'm like, what is so good about this product that it's but it makes sense because like also on top of that, like we have like Arm& Hammer. Do you guys have that there? No. Okay. So that's kind of like what our baking soda is. It's like a baking soda brand. And then it also has like its own laundry detergent too as well. So it's like when I had bought my like baking soda in that container, I was like, well, that makes sense because they use this for like laundry detergent too. But then you can also just use the plain baking soda itself, to help with like laundry too, in that aspect. But anyways, speaking real quick on laundry and everything, yes, it does not smell like vinegar. As you said, people might kind of freak out with that. I have tried that, and that was kind of my own thing. I was like, oh gosh, it's going to smell like vinegar. It's going to be gross. And it doesn't. Like you said, it kind of just neutralizes that smell, which is you wouldn't think that would happen, but it does.
Mm.
And then I also found out too that you can use like the vinegar. I personally use a couple essential oils. I want to say it was like lemon and something else. I'm not sure what it was, but I had this stain like on my bed because my dog had thrown up. I know, pretty gross, but I was trying to like clean it off and everything. And I was like, you know what? I had this stain remover that I just found a recipe for that was, again, just essential oils, vinegar, and maybe something else. And I sprayed it on there, came back, the yellow bright stain was gone. And I was just like shocked because I was like, this is a miracle. Like, why do not people know about this kind of stuff, And
Yeah.
it's inexpensive. So
Totally. That's what I was going to say before too, when you said about people thinking like, oh, this lifestyle is going to be so expensive and it's going to cost a fortune. You actually end up saving a lot of money because obviously vinegar and bicarb soda or baking soda, whatever you call it there, is so inexpensive. So replacing that with all these expensive products, you actually end up saving a lot.
and multi-purpose use, like you said, you
Yeah.
can use it on many different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So since we've been talking about products and what to use and all that kind of stuff, can you name like one of the things that you make at home, or maybe just even an ingredient? Maybe it's vinegar, maybe it's baking soda, whatever the case may be, that you're just like, out of all the things I use, this is like my most favorite.
Yeah, so I would probably say so far my favorite product that I use would be a oil cleanser, like using a carrier oil, um, which yeah, for those that don't know, is like what you can dilute essential oils with for topical application because you can't just put them concentrated onto your skin. So there is all different types, but I use, my favorite one for this is sweet almond oil. So I use this instead of makeup remover and instead of a face cleanser. And it's my favorite because it's so easy. It's so cost effective compared to buying, like hundreds of dollars of makeup removers and cleaning face cleansers and makeup wipes and all that kind of stuff that do have toxic chemicals in them, and that also aren't very sustainable either. Like using makeup wipes all the time to remove your makeup, you're contributing to like waste, right? Like landfill. So using this has made my skin feel like so nice and soft and glowy. And it's super easy. I actually use this as my cleanser and as my like moisturizing serum. So it's like, again, a double up, well, triple up really. You just massage it into your skin and use like a warm face cloth to remove it. And that's it, done. Like that removes your makeup, even mascara and like eye makeup. And it also removes like oil from your skin. And you would think that it would leave your skin oily because it's an oil, but it actually doesn't, because oil removes oil basically. So it like draws the oil out of your skin, like really cleans out your pores, and the hot water, like the steam, helps to like open everything up. So I would say that's probably been one of my favorite swaps so far. And like obviously there's all different types that are suitable for different types of skin, but I have quite dry skin, so I use the sweet almond oil, and then I use that as my serum as well.
Nice.
So that's my favorite.
So is that a mixture of things you said, or
No, just the oil, just the carrier oil. Well, you can add essential oils into it, which I do sometimes. I don't always do that because I'm lazy.
Right. Okay, so it's literally just like sweet almond oil you can use, and that's what
So
you end up.
Yep.
Okay, nice. That's awesome, because I literally been kind of thinking that too, because I ran out, like you said, again, you don't have to throw all your products away, kind of just like baby steps into it. So that's where I'm kind of at in my stage, where I'm like I just ran out of like, eye makeup remover. And I'm like, well, what do I use like next? Like, what's the next thing? So that's awesome. I'll try to see if I can get some of that and try that out.
Yeah, definitely try that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of the other things I want to point out too, as you were speaking on that, because you were talking about using that on your skin. I feel like what I did discover too is, with other products, it's like these more harmful ones that you're buying at the store, and it has like usually like maybe a couple uses for different things, maybe it's like a multi-use spray or whatever the case. But for the most part, like you said, it's usually just like, you use this only on this area. You only use this one on this area. What I've grown to find out too is like, if you're using like greener things, that it can be used across the span. And in an aspect of like, sometimes if it gets on your skin or whatever the case may be, it's not harmful to you too as well. I had like, before I was trying to like make this like yoga mat spray, and then I think I switched and was like, okay, I'm going to make it this other thing, like that itself, like the ingredients that were in it, because it was just like essential oils, and then it was like witch hazel, and then a couple other things in there too as well that I can't remember on top of my head, but it was like, cleaner things. And then I used those same ingredients for something else, or kind of tweaked it. And then I remember my friend was like, oh my gosh, are you using matte cleaner spray for this or whatever? And I was just like, no, these are like good, like interchangeable things. Like, it's not like I'm putting chemicals on, for you to smell or whatever the case may be. And I remember she just like freaked out. And then I was like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense, because our products here, again, it's like, you can only use it for this, only use it for that. You don't use it like for whatever the case may be. And I know I'm probably not making any sense, but it was just
that makes total sense. But that's actually such a good point, because I read this thing once in quite early on in my journey, and it really like freaked me out. Was essentially like, we're made to believe that all these products are different, that we need all these different, like you said, you need something different. You need a matte spray, you need a dishwashing liquid, you need a shampoo. Like it's all just like a marketing thing, like to make us believe as the consumers that we have to spend all this money and buy all these different products. In actual fact, they're all quite similar, like chemicals obviously there would obviously be differences in some things, but most of the time they are using quite similar things, but they just put a different smell on it. It was like this thing that I read was like, if someone told you to go and wash your hair with dishwashing liquid, you would be like, whoa, no, like that will ruin my hair. It's so drying. Or there was another example, I just can't think of what it was, like washing your body with like laundry liquid, or, you know, like just these weird things. We would be like, ew, no, like I wouldn't do that. But like it's all the same thing. We're just made to believe that it's something different. And you find too that taking it back to basics and like swapping over, there is so many crossovers that, you know, you can use the same soap as your dishwashing liquid and your washing liquid and your body wash and your floor wash. And like there's pretty much like 4 or 5 products you need, and then everything is just repeated.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you do get my point. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just remember
Yeah.
like that was like, I guess like a mind blowing experience for me and myself to just think like for the, you know, for anybody, even me before I got to where I got, you know, I was like, that makes sense. Cause yeah, you wouldn't use that for that or interchange that. Cause that would be, for one, that'd be horrible to do. And for two, you know, like you'll probably damage your skin, you know, in the process. But again, like you said, really just like 4 or, you know, however many ingredients that you use, depending how crazy you want to get with things, that it's really just the same stuff, just tweaked in different ways. And I don't know if I'm guessing over where you're at too. Like we use baking soda in our food, you know,
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
you're putting,
You know it's safe.
yeah, like if you're putting in your food, it's okay to put on your skin too as well, for the most part. I mean, check your certain things and whatever the case may be. But again, like all these are like interchangeable things
Mm.
in that aspect. So I don't know, just kind of an interesting experience that I had discovered on my own little journey. Like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You wouldn't want to put certain things on your body, but these ones are okay to
Mm.
extent, whatever it is. But
Even a lot of cleaning products too. Like, I don't know if you've ever actually picked up a bottle and read it, but most things, even something simple as floor cleaner, actually will state in the warning on the back, like use gloves and protective eyewear to use this product. And then it's like you're putting that on your floor, and then you're letting your babies crawl around, or like you'll sit on the, like walk barefoot, and it's like actually stating that it's toxic to touch your skin and that you should be wearing like a mask and goggles just to even use it. It's scary to think like what is even in this.
yeah, yeah, because yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, if you do look on a lot of things, like I said, looking on that one essential oils and just seeing that like precaution can be
Yeah.
cancerous. I'm
Can,
like, what?
mm.
So yes, be sure to look at your ingredients, slowly change over and whatnot. But yeah, before we wrap up, I got a couple of questions for you still. But is there any suggestions, any other tips that you can think of where you're just like, oh, I forgot to say this, and I would like people out there who are just maybe transitioning over to know?
I guess something that I did want to bring up was for maybe the people that are considering it but are still like sitting on the fence whether they want to make these changes. Some of the actual health effects of using these products, because I know it took me a lot of years, like a long time, to actually research it properly. Like it was kind of something I'd heard of, but I was just like ignoring it, and I didn't understand why it was so bad. I'd be like, oh yeah, like chemicals, like whatever, who cares? We've all been using them for years and we're fine, until
Right.
you actually know why. So I guess I just wanted to point out a few of the actual risks involved with using them, if that can help people to understand why they should make these positive changes, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. That'd be awesome. Because yeah, sometimes we need a little bit more. Why should I do this? You know.
Yeah, or maybe people that just don't realize. And it's, I guess, for the same as us, like until you know it, you don't know it. So I guess some of the few less, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a mind blank, like
That's okay.
not as long-term effects. So more like short-term, less serious effects, I suppose, would be like um, food intolerances and allergies and like asthma and eczema. Like you think about even just those four, I don't know about for you guys, but for here in Australia, like those four conditions are so common these days. Like every second person has either, you know, eczema, or they're dairy intolerant, or they're gluten intolerant, or, you know, whatever it might be. Even things like depression and brain fog and just like anxiety, and like these are all causes of toxin overload. So they're quite simple things that most of us suffer from, yet we don't realize why. Like if you think about, I don't know, however many hundreds of years ago, people didn't have all these intolerances and allergies and like nut anaphylaxis, is that even a word?
Yeah.
Anaphylactic
Yeah.
allergy, whatever, you know what I mean.
Like really severe allergies where
Yeah,
you
like it's a
can't
lot more
breathe.
common now. And I believe personally that it's from all the things that we're exposed to, what's in our water, what's in our food, what's in our products. Like things, when things were simple all those years ago, we didn't have all these issues. So they're some of the more like daily things, I suppose. But then obviously going into like the long-term effects, it's like kidney damage and heart damage and Alzheimer's and obviously cancer. Like a lot of these chemicals that we're talking about are known carcinogens, which is chemicals that are proven to cause cancer. Yet they're not banned. They're not banned in our products. They're allowed to be on our shelves for us to buy, assuming that, you know, we just go to the groceries and pick up our spray and wipe and it's completely safe, but it's not. It's legal to put those carcinogens in it. And many, many more. But I guess I just wanted to touch on that. It's like, it's not just all the long-term things. And, you know, then there's like the reproductive issues. Like a lot of people now have fertility issues and need IVF support to even fall pregnant. And then, you know, miscarriage rates are up and stillborn rates are up, and like health conditions on babies, that I don't even know what that word is, but, you know, like babies being born with disabilities and Down syndrome and all that kind of stuff. This all contributes to that as well. Obviously, there's a lot more involved than just toxins. I'm not saying this is the answer to everyone's problems, but it's definitely a big contribution, I believe, to, well, and most of the studies have linked, directly linked with this kind of stuff. Even things like fragrance, for example, that gets into your body and massively disrupts your endocrine system, which is what controls all the hormones for your body, which is what controls your reproductive system. So these fragrance chemicals go into your body and they basically dress up as your own hormones. So then the real hormones see them and think, oh, that one's doing its job, I don't need to do that. But it's not, because it's just, you know, one of these chemicals floating around. I don't know. Does this make sense? I'm trying not to make it too like.
Yeah. No. Cause I got a lot of information on your page. So you were kind of talking about, sorry, backtrack to what you were just saying. I like had it on my head and then I was like,
Sorry, I'm going too fast.
No, you're good.
Like the endocrine disruptors. Yeah. So they like get in your body and muck up your natural hormone system. So, you know, obviously your hormones control so much. They control your mood and like your stress regulation, you even affect your digestion, and obviously massively your reproductive system. So yeah, I don't want to go into it too much, but I just feel like that maybe people don't realize why they should make these changes or what it's actually doing to them. But once you understand that, it's kind of like, okay, wow, it is worth switching my favorite candle for essential oils to protect my health in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Now I'm remembering what I was reading on your post one day, because you were kind of talking about that. And it was talking about like how fragrances can be the secondhand, like the new secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
That's
I think it was aftershave and perfume. They were saying that is like nowadays the new, as known as bad as secondhand smoke, which everyone knows that's bad, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so known, but you still happily put perfume on and go and hang out with all your friends, and that's not, you know, that nothing bad is linked with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting kind of going into that, because I've had some people I've known in my life where, you know, if you wear certain, like, let's say like, because a lot of the fragrances are heavy smelling things, you know? And I remember I would wear, you know, like as anybody when I was younger, like, I'm going to drench myself because it just smells so amazing and everything like that. And I would go around certain people and they're like, oh my gosh, like that is very, very strong. Like it gives me headaches. It doesn't make me feel good. There are certain people out there who are just very sensitive to that kind of thing. And you think like, oh, well, like it smells good, you know, but like talking about what you're talking about, like it could be just their body in general, just like that's not a good smell, as in that's not giving my body what it needs. It's harming my body type thing, you know? And it's like, you don't really think about that as the consumer. You're just like, what's your deal? Like, I smell amazing. Like, how do you not think this smells amazing, you know? But again, it's like probably those fragrances that are in there that are toxic, you know? And it's like, like making you think that it smells so good that you should be using it, and it's masking your smell and all that kind of stuff. Because I remember even just like looking at your posts, you were talking about like, you know, like deodorants or things like that. Yeah, it's used to make you smell good, but maybe it's clogging your pores too as well. And, you know, we don't think about that because we're just like, well, I just don't want to sweat. I don't want to smell. So whatever, you know, but until you kind of like go further into that and kind of think about like, but if I'm clogging my pores, how can that be damaging? Or what are the fragrances in this deodorant that could be damaging to my body, or, you know, like your hormones and all that kind of stuff, because you're absorbing that into a pore, and your pores are generally big in those areas. So
Oh, there's so many different reasons why deodorant is very bad. I feel like I could give you like 10 reasons on that, but I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And it shows how passionate you are and all the research you've done and looked into it and all that kind of stuff. And again, I truly appreciate that, because again, going on to my own little journey and just stumbling upon your page, I'm like, oh, wow, you know, like I'm learning a lot here. So just know what you are posting is reaching people out there. So
amazing. Thank you. That makes it all worth it.
Right.
Sometimes you question that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Even with my stuff, I'm like, is anybody even getting anything, you know, information out of my stuff?
Yeah.
But yes, people are. Okay. All right. So we'll kind of wrap up today. Real quick before we hop off, I would like to ask you, what is an artist or a song that kind of gets you pumped up, especially probably when you're like cleaning, do your things around your house? It's just nice to like hear what people are maybe jamming out to throughout their day.
Yeah. So, mine is kind of a bit embarrassing because, well, not embarrassing, but I guess when people see me or know me, it's not what they would expect me to like or listen to. But yes, I am embarrassingly going to admit that I am low-key obsessed with an Australian rapper called Allday. You probably, I don't know if you know of him over there or not. I don't even know how many people know of him here. But anyway, he is my guilty pleasure. So pretty much anytime I'm home cleaning, I will have any of his music. I love it all. Blasting on my U-boom, and I will be like dancing around the house like a complete loser, jamming out to that. So yeah, probably not what everyone expects me to be listening to, but that's what it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never heard of that person before, but I'm so gonna look them up and see what that's about. Like you said, it's funny because it's like, I feel like I have a very versatile music range, and like you said, people might be like, you listen to that? I listen to all sorts of stuff. So I'm very interested to see who your person is. But that's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun. This is my first ever podcast interview, so I loved it. Thank you.
Good. I am so glad you were able to hop on here. And then real quick, for people out there who do not know you, but are kind of interested to kind of see, you know, or connect with you or ask questions, where can they find you? Do you have like a website, or do you like, what's your Instagram, or what social media do you normally use the most?
I'm currently working really hard on getting a website up. So hopefully in the next few weeks that will be up. So maybe by the time everyone listens, which will be Luxx, Luxx living.com.au. Or I pretty much hang out mostly on Instagram, which my username is @_Luxx_living. So LUXX.
Sounds good. And I'll put all these in the show notes too as well, for people who are like, what did you guys all say? We'll have information where you can connect with her and whatnot. So again, thank you so much for hopping on here, sharing your experience and your knowledge, just about hopefully an easier transition for people out there for a greener, cleaner living.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Bye, guys.
Am I awake or am I dreaming?